What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. And the New York Giants had a very productive offseason. They made a lot of big-time signings, pulled off a big blockbuster trade, and had a really solid 2023 NFL Draft. So today, as we inch closer and closer to training camp, we're only a week away from Saquon Barkley's deadline to sign an extension, and then about a week after that, training camp will soon be kicking off. But as we creep closer, we want to reflect on the offseason that the Giants had, discuss the top acquisitions that they made, and try and give them a grade for the offseason. Now, of course, this grade is tentative. We'll see how these signings perform this upcoming season, but we would like to take a look and recap the offseason and discuss our confidence on these moves going into the regular season, which of course is a little bit of a ways away, but we're going to go ahead and dive into that today. But before we do, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this episode, subscribe to the channel if you are new, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and go ahead and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Fireside Giants and on Threads as well. And go check us out on Facebook. Also, we have a great community building over there. But without further ado, Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? And what are your thoughts on the Giants offseason?
I'm doing great, and so far we've been making some pretty good signings and acquisitions and draft picks, and a lot of the guys are extremely athletic, and they have a lot of upside, and they're moldable and coachable, and all the different synonyms of coachable and teachable that you want to throw out there. They certainly are, and we're seeing stuff coming out like Deonte Banks is already assimilating himself into the scheme on defense very nicely. He already knows the system and the man coverage strategy that Wink Martindale does deploy. So the Giants are doing a good job just installing the fundamentals for some of the guys they just brought in. I want to give some grades out for these acquisitions. We're going to focus on more of the guys that stand out. Obviously there's a lot of like back end roster guys that are probably going to fall by the wayside. So we'll mix and match those. But right off the bat, I kind of want to talk about re-signing Jarrad Davis. That's kind of an interesting move here because I feel like the Giants, they need a little bit of a veteran presence there. Jarrad Davis, maybe not the most important person on the roster, but he certainly could win a backup linebacker job. I would say I'd give that, it's kind of just an average, like B-. Jarrad Davis is not good in coverage. He can kind of stop the run a little bit. They asked him to do a lot in the playoffs last year. Obviously, Micah McFadden struggled, and we let go Tay Crowder. He goes on to sign with Pittsburgh, I believe. So you kind of have a weird situation where you don't have any linebackers. Now you have Bobby Okereke. Apparently, McFadden's gotten a lot better this offseason, according to Martindale. Then Darian Beavers is coming back out of Cincinnati, which will basically be his rookie season. So, what kind of grade are you giving Jarrad Davis? A smaller name on this list, but nonetheless could end up playing a substantial amount of reps if they do need that backup to step up and, fill an injury or maybe some deficiencies.
Well, I think Jarrad Davis is a serviceable linebacker too if you need him to be, but honestly, it's not ideal to have him starting out there on a game-by-game basis. I'd give this acquisition, this re-signing, probably just a C-. I think that there are better linebacker talents still available in free agency that the Giants could potentially go with, but overall, I don't think they're going to go ahead and sign anyone or roll with Jarrad Davis. I think that Micah McFadden is going to win the starting job unless Darian Beavers can take it from him, but Jarrad Davis, veteran guy, he can stop the run okay, but he's not very good in coverage. Is kind of a liability in this Wink Martindale defense that requires a whole lot of athleticism from the linebacker standpoint. So I don't think that Jarrad Davis is going to have a big impact. But Alex, who's next on the list?
I'm going to go with Paris Campbell. You guys know, if you watch Fireside Giants, you know that we love the acquisition of Paris Campbell. And for one main reason, Brian Daboll, Joe Schoen managed to convince him to take a pretty incentive-laden deal that he has to hit career marks in yards, touchdowns, and there's kind of escalators. But the baseline escalator for a lot of the add-ons to his contract are career highs. Like he has to pass like 600 or 700 yards receiving. He has to pass like a certain amount of touchdowns. And this is a player who has legit 4.3 speed. Bobby Okereke told us personally that the guy's got 4.3 speed. Play with him, obviously, with the Indianapolis Colts. And Paris Campbell's going to be working predominantly out of the slot where he can really exercise that speed up the seams on crossing concepts. Short. Yeah, he's definitely a player that I'm very, very, very excited about because of the athletic profile he brings to this offense. Last year lacked athleticism and speed significantly. They had one of the slowest 40-yard dash times on average in the entire league, maybe the slowest. So now you're looking at a guy that can blaze. You have to keep an eye on him. You can't let him get behind the defense. You can't let him just run around aimlessly because he will destroy you. He will kill you. He's got some physicality. He's got good hands. Obviously, this last season, the most to this point, but I think Paris Campbell, guys, low key could be one of our most impactful offensive playmakers this year. I know his name's kind of going under the radar, but in a bad Indianapolis Colts offense last year that barely had a quarterback, he put together, I think, 700 yards. So that's pretty impressive. Now you have Daniel Jones getting better, better than Matt Ryan was last year, better than Sam Ellinger, or whoever the hell they were throwing out. Daniel Jones can make the most out of a guy like Paris Campbell. I think that he could break 700 yards easily and maybe get a couple scores to go with it. I'm definitely going to give this one an A. I think this is a great signing. They made him bet on himself, and obviously the cap hit remains low if he doesn't pan out, so it's a low risk, high reward in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty low risk based on the contract, but there is some risk involved with signing a player like Paris Campbell because of his injury history. So I can't give this some sort of A+ or absolute glowing review. I love the signing and I really love the contract. The contract itself is probably an A+ because it is so low risk, but the player is a little bit of a risk. When you're looking at a guy like Paris Campbell, you love how dynamic he is. You love the speed that he brings to your offense and the playmaking ability, but you don't love the injury history. He's only had one fully healthy season in his career. It was this past season, and it was his career year. But to this point, he hasn't been able to stay on the football field. So will he be on the field much in 2023? We hope so. Based on last year, he should be. He finally figured out how to maintain his body, maintain his health for the 2022 season. So if he can do the same thing in 2023, I think he could have a very underrated and probably massive impact on this offense just because of the speed, the run after catch ability, how dynamic of a playmaker he can be in this offense. So I'm excited by Paris Campbell. I would give this signing about a B+, again, because there probably were safer options if they wanted to spend a little bit more, not go on the low risk, high reward kind of strategy. They probably could have gotten a more proven player without the injury history, but based on what the Giants had in their salary cap this offseason, how much space they had, how much money they had to spend, they probably did just as well as they totally could have at the wide receiver position with Paris Campbell. So I do love the signing, love the potential of this player, but hopefully he's able to stay healthy and it all pans out. But Alex, once again, who's next on the list?
I'm going to go with Jamison Crowder, an interesting player here, wide receiver, formerly with the Jets, Washington, has some good speed out of the slot. This is a net neutral, I would say. Like, Jamison Crowder is not probably going to make this team, if we're being quite honest. It's probably like there's only so many slot roster spots you have on the team, and realistically, Sterling Shepard's going to be the one that gets that spot. Or, they still have Wandale coming back. You have Jalen Hyatt who plays out of a lot of the slot. You have, Darren Waller who's going to play a lot out of the slot as this jumbo kind of option. Then, of course, you have Paris Campbell, we just discussed. So, Jamison Crowder signing this offseason, nice camp body, someone who can compete, has a NFL experience. I'll give that one a C. Net neutral. I think C is probably like a neutral grade. But if he makes the roster, maybe he has some juice left in the tank, some gas left in the tank, and he can contribute a little bit. But he's certainly not my preference. I'd rather go with guys like Wandale, Paris, and Sterling as our primary slot options.
Yeah, I'm going to have a little bit of a different opinion on this one. I'm going to give this a solid B+ because I think we both know that Jamison Crowder is not going to make the team, but the Giants didn't pay him like he is going to make the team. However, they brought in a great veteran presence in the locker room who has connections to Duke and is able to gel well with Daniel Jones in practice, and he's been working with him all offseason because of that Duke connection. So I really like this signing just as a camp body alone. Again, I don't think he's going to have much of an impact in the regular season. I don't think he's going to see any regular season playing time unless the Giants suffer a slew of injuries. But throughout this offseason, I think Crowder, the veteran presence that he brings, allows him to help a lot of these younger guys get up to speed. He also has familiarity with this playbook, which I think is important in terms of coaching other players around him, but also just that connection at Duke. He goes over there every offseason. Daniel Jones and Jamison Crowder already knew each other before he signed with the Giants because they've thrown together at Duke in the offseason. So just another player to add to the mix of these player-led training activities that Daniel Jones does every offseason, and already having that familiarity there just means you're having iron sharpening iron. It only helps Daniel Jones for a very, very low cost, totally worth of the contract. Again, don't think he has an impact in the regular season, but as a camp body, I don't think it gets much better than this. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a B+. Veteran player here who was at one point in his career, a very solid player in the NFL. So I really like this signing.
Yeah, I mean, look, he definitely could be a really good camp body. I just don't think he probably doesn't make the roster, for being honest, but maybe he does. We'll see what happens. But the next one on the list, Darren Waller. This is probably an A+ deal, if you ask me. I know he's had some injury history in the past, but he has WR1 production as well in the past. And, at a $4 million cap hit, if they can get 1,000+ yards out of him and 5+ touchdowns, You tell me if that's a good deal or not for $4 million. I mean, the guy's making less than Darius Slayton. The guy's making less than some of these guys are that have never even been close to that level of production. So personally, I love the fact that Darren Waller was acquired for a 3rd-round pick. Easy money. You flipped Kadarius Toney, who was perennially injured and still loves the Giants and talking about them. I don't know why he just doesn't forget about it. I mean, he just won a Super Bowl, for God's sakes. I mean, I don't know why Giants are still at the forefront of his mind and taking shots at the fan base and whatnot. But the truth is, you flip him for Darren Waller, who has had his own injury history and, but also has had legitimate production. You flip a guy who was really never done anything for the Giants for a guy that could be tremendous for the Giants, could be and has proven in the past that he is a ridiculously talented player, probably the most athletic tight end in football. He has some really good hands, really good speed, really good physicality and strength. He can outmuscle those corners, and his size is phenomenal. I mean, you throw that ball up a little bit higher than the cornerback can reach, he's going to go up and get it. I love this acquisition. This is probably my favorite move of the offseason. Again, another low risk, high reward acquisition for the Giants. They went out and they said, we don't want to destroy our salary space for the future. We want to keep Andrew Thomas. We want to keep Dexter Lawrence. We want to keep some of these really, really important guys to our roster. And the number one way to do that is to keep the cap hits low elsewhere. So they went out and find guys that have legitimate, Pro Bowl upside for a really cheap price. And I mean, it's hard to do. That's really difficult to do in the Giants. I've done a tremendous job doing just that, convincing guys to take incentive-laden deals, but also acquiring players that have proven a lot in the past and really could elevate the entire offense, especially with Daniel Jones looking to take that next leap in 2023.
Yeah, so I also love this acquisition. It is the blockbuster move for the Giants this offseason, bringing in Darren Waller. Listen, they had a big need in the passing game. They needed an alpha dog, somebody who could potentially go for 1,000 receiving yards in a season. They found that in Darren Waller. Did they get the wide receiver one that everybody wanted? No, but they got a player that could replicate that production. Darren Waller, there's much more than what meets the eye. He's not just a dynamic tight end. He's just a dynamic offensive playmaker. He lines up in the slot. He lines up out wide and lines up in line. So you can put him all over your offense, and he can make plays at all 3 levels of the field against anybody. He can go up against safeties, against corners, against linebackers. There's something special to his game where, yes, he has the speed to separate, but he also has the strength to make those contested catches. He's kind of the perfect receiver that the Giants were looking for Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones, every now and then, he fires it into a tight window. Giants players in the past have had a lot of drops. This is a guy with sure hands, but there's also a guy with a lot of speed who can catch the ball, turn upfield, and make some big-time plays. Think about how great of a player Evan Engram could have been. That's what Darren Waller should be. Evan Engram got a lot of targets from Daniel Jones. He really likes to throw to that specific brand of player, dynamic, fast, big bodies. Darren Waller is that. He is basically what Evan Engram wanted to be. So Daniel Jones getting this player who fits his playing style and his perfect scheme fit for this offense just makes a lot of sense. This is an A grade for me. My favorite acquisition of the offseason. I just think that there is unlimited potential here. And again, as you mentioned, Alex, they got him on a very flexible, low cap hit contract in exchange for only a 3rd-round pick, the Kadarius Toney pick. So it's kind of just free money at that point. I love this deal. I think it's great. And I think that Darren Waller is going to be a big-time player for the Giants.
100% agreed. And now let's take a look at the defensive side, maybe the trenches a little bit. A'Shawn Robinson coming from the Rams, obviously part of a Super Bowl team, a physical, mean dude in the trenches. We needed to improve our run stopping game, and he is going to contribute heavily in that area along with Raheem Nunez-Roche, who we will grade simultaneously. I think that I'll go with a B+ for A'Shawn Robinson. Another guy took incentive deal, and then Raheem Nunez-Roche, another guy that took kind of an incentive-laden deal, bet on himself. I'll give that one a B+, A-. It's like A-, B+. You choose your pick. I think that those 2 signings are really, really good. Are they starters? Not exactly, but they're, first rotation guys, right behind Dexter Lawrence, right behind Leonard Williams. You're going to see third and short. You got 4th and short, 4th and goal. You're going to see those big boys in there. You're going to see the trenches stacked full of these massive human beings that aren't rookies, that aren't Jack Andersons who could be decent, but or Danny Sheltons of the world. You're going to see these guys that have proven success, have produced very well and stuff in the run. helping this team a lot. And Joe Shane even said, like, I didn't realize what Wink Martindale's defense really needed, and now they do. Like, this defense is going to be a lot better, guys. You had Deontay Banks, we're going to talk about in a couple minutes. You had two big interior run stuffers, and you keep some of your primary guys. You still got Ojulari, Thibodeau, Dexter, and Leo, your core four right there, plus two massive run stoppers in the run game. You're going to be in good shape. This team is not going to be pushed over. This defense is not going to be a unit that's run over. They're going to stand their ground, and they're going to kick some serious ass. So I'm excited about this. I think B+, B+, A-, right around those grades. Totally fair for either of those two guys. What do you think about A'Shawn Robinson and Raheem Nunez-Roche?
Yeah, I'd give those B plus. I think that they're solid quality signings. Do they, blow you away? Are they going to make the Giants defensive line an elite unit? Well, I think it already was an elite unit just because of Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams alone. And I think that this helps to improve this line, but it doesn't make it the best line in football or anything. The Giants just didn't have a whole lot of money to spend. They couldn't go after some of the top guys on the market. Had they brought back a guy like Dalvin Tomlinson, I'd give that an A, because that would have been a serious high impact player. But instead, they had to kind of go into the bargain bin and find some of these veterans who aren't necessarily household names, but A'Shawn Robinson, don't sleep on him. He is a great run defender, and one of the Giants' biggest weaknesses last season was their run defense. They got ran all over, particularly by the Philadelphia Eagles, and if there's the number one thing that the Giants need to prioritize this upcoming season, it's winning more divisional games. I think they went 1-4-1 in the division, not a very good record there, so they need to improve on that. They got to try and take down those Philadelphia Eagles, and adding some big boys up front in the trenches will help them do that. A'Shawn Robinson, Raheem Nunez-Roche, they're not adding anything from a pass rushing standpoint necessarily, so that does give me a little bit of concern. I would have liked to find a more two-way player, but still, the Giants really needed to find more run defenders, and they did with Nunez-Roche and, of course, A'Shawn Robinson. A'Shawn Robinson being the better of the two players, in my opinion, and the player that I'm a little bit more excited about, so I really like A'Shawn Robinson. I'm going to give that a B+, and I'll just give a B to Nunez-Roche's, but again, both good players who do help to upgrade this run defense by a significant margin.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at some of our draft selections. We're going to do the first three rounds since those are the most important. Obviously Deontay Banks, this is the most athletic, or one of the most athletic cornerbacks that's been graded over the past decade. He was the most athletic cornerback in this most recent draft class. And he was tremendous for Maryland, right? This is a guy that's can play any scheme. He can play zone coverage. He can play man coverage. He can get up in the run game. He's aggressive. He's physical. And he's got a great work ethic. And that's kind of what you want to see. He's a great dude, great guy. And that's kind of like what the Giants have been trying to find, these athletic freaks with coachability. You can mold them. That's a similar kind of concept to the Trey Hawkins acquisition, 6th round pick. Go after a guy with elite physical traits, really good length and wingspan and radius and, just speed and size. And then you just coach them up. You have good coaching staff mixed with athletic as hell guys. Usually that's going to result in something that's going to make a good special teams player or a reserve guy that's quality or a good starter or a great starter. Deontay Banks has great starter potential. He has CB1 potential, maybe even as soon as next year. We'll see how he does this year alongside Adoree Jackson. But Deontay Banks, 24th overall pick. That's an A+ to me. I think that's one of our best moves of the season. We needed a cornerback badly. This guy has unlimited upside, and you get him at the back end of the first round. One of the best draft picks we probably had in quite some time in terms of we've been drafting top 10 the last couple of years without fail. And when you're drafting top 10, it's pretty hard to miss. You know what I mean? It's a lot easier to hit when you're getting some of the best prospects in the game. But when you're in the back end of the first round, you got to know your stuff. You got to be ready for any opportunities. You got to make sure that you do your homework. And Deontay Banks is a testament to the Giants doing their homework, and he has just tremendous upside. I'm really excited to watch him this upcoming season.
I think Deontay Banks is going to be the only acquisition that I give an A+ to. I think it is perfect. He's the perfect scheme fit for what Wink Martindale likes to do on defense, and he also is just a tremendous talent. I was shocked that he actually fell into the Giants' laps over at 24. Of course, they did trade up one pick to secure him and make sure that they got their hands on him, but Deontay Banks going in the mid-20s was a surprise. A lot of prospects, or a lot of analysts rather, and experts predicted him to go maybe sometimes in the top 10 to 15 to 20, but getting outside of the 20 seemed like a stretch for Deontay Banks. But once he started to fall that far, I knew that was the Giants' pick. I said it the day before the draft. That was my pick for them in my final mock draft. I said they're going to go with Deontay Banks if he's there. But again, it was if he's there, because he is a tremendous talent. In my opinion, he really was a top 15 talent. He fell out of the top 15, right into the Giants' laps, like I said, and that was a home run selection. This is a player that can transform their defense. We've seen in recent years what an elite cornerback can do for a team. Just look at Sauce Gardner for the New York Jets and a few of these other players, Jair Alexander for the Packers. You get an elite young cornerback to build around in your defense, it will change your team for years to come. So if that's what the Giants got in Deonte Banks, this defense is going to take a massive step forward, not just in 2023, but for several years following. So I love this pick. Again, I was shocked to see it actually come to fruition. It was my predicted pick if he was there, but I didn't expect that he would be there on the board for the Giants when they were picking. Thankfully, he was, and I do think he's going to be an elite cornerback at some point in his NFL career. And honestly, I would bank on it happening pretty early on. So just a tremendous talent here. Lots of speed, lots of physicality. He's just the perfect mold of a Wink Martindale cornerback. So I can't wait to watch Deonte Banks get to work for his upcoming rookie season.
Yeah, me too. I'm super, super excited. So I'll do back-to-back ones here with Jalen Hyatt and JMS. So John Michael Schmitz, we needed a center, guys. I mean, like, he gave up 2 sacks in 3 collegiate seasons with Minnesota. He's a tremendous player, really good upside, maybe, good athletic player, not the best in the world. Joe Tippmann probably steals the job there in terms of being the most athletic center in this most recent draft class. But JMS has probably the highest floor of any center in this draft class, right? The fact that he dropped to us in the second round, just amazing. Like, we couldn't have been happier for that. Jalen Hyatt, even more, dropping in the third round. Like, that's ridiculous. The people were mocking him in the first round to us 2 weeks before that. So you love to see walking away with 3 players that were mocked to us in the first round. I mean, that's about as good drafting as you could possibly get. JMS is going to lock down the center position for many, many years. NFL.com believes he's going to be an above average center. A lot of people think he's going to be about above average center. He is what Dave Gettleman would have said. Not going to say the word. You guys know what he would have said. I just feel like that word is just evil juju to any offensive lineman now. But JMS, tremendous athlete, tremendous guy. Love his mentality. His football IQ is off the charts. He will understand exactly what's going on. The communication is going to be seamless. He's going to be able to do a lot of stuff pre-snap to give Daniel Jones information that will help him, execute plays a lot more efficiently. And then Jalen Hyatt, one of the fastest players on our team now. And a lot of people say he's one of the fastest in the NFL. His game speed is legit. He's a burner. He's going to blow the top off of defenses. He's going to do amazing on crossing concepts. A lot of what the Giants did last year was slower guys. He's now going to be doing it as a faster guy. You're just not going to be able to keep. If you're playing zone coverage and you're like passing off receivers in the middle of the field, God help you. Like, how are you going to keep up with Paris Campbell, Darius Slayton, and Jalen Hyatt? Like, you're not going to be able to keep up with that speed if you're passing off guys. Communication has to be seamless. If you're playing man coverage, you're going to get blown by. So we're going to see how it goes. But I'm certainly excited about those 2 guys. I think that JMS, I'll give an A, and Jalen Hyatt an A too, just because of the positional value you get in the second and third rounds. I do love those combinations there. I think that those 2 draft selections could end up being some of the best we've had in years.
Yeah, I love those selections as well. Tremendous value based on where they were predicted to go and where the Giants actually got them. John Michael Schmitz, if the Giants took him in the first round, no one would have batted an eye. They would have said, great job, you got your center for the next 5 years. Instead, they got their cornerback for the next 5 years and their center for the next 5 years by landing John Michael Schmitz in the second round. Like you said, high floor player. He's going to be a good center. Will he be an elite center? I'm not so sure, but he's going to be a good center, and he will serve as a massive upgrade on this offensive line that badly needed a center. Plus, they have never had continuity at the center position. For the entirety of Daniel Jones' time with the Giants, he has had a different center starting week 1 every single year of his career. That is a mind-blowing stat to me, but that should no longer be the case following this upcoming season. It should be John Michael Schmitz for now and hopefully forever for as long as Daniel Jones is here for the New York Giants. So I love the pick. I think it's a long-term solution to a problem that not only was facing them presently, but for the long term and for the last several years as well. It's a really big grab in the second round and tremendous value. Not an elite athlete, but a damn good player. So I would also give this one an A. And then moving into the third round, I think I was a little bit lower on Jalen Hyatt than most people were. I thought that getting him in the third round for me personally was just good value. I mean, it was elite value based on the fact that in mock drafts, he was going at the back end of the first round. He was never making it out of the second in a lot of mock drafts. But me personally, I thought that he was a little highly rated going into the draft. I thought first round would have been crazy for Jalen Hyatt, a very scheme specific player, had a lot of production over in the SEC at Tennessee, but never faced press coverage throughout the entirety of his collegiate career and really played a very specific deep ball route or role rather in Tennessee's offense. So how does he transition to the NFL? Well, I don't think he necessarily is going to step in here and have this massive great impact on the Giants offense like a lot of other fans think. I think he's going to have a little bit of an adjustment period, but I do like the long-term prospects of this pick. Really dynamic player, lots of speed, as you mentioned, Alex. So I like Jalen Hyatt. I'd also give it an A because he was landed in the third round. If it was in the second round, I'd probably just go with a solid B because I thought that was good value. He was about a second round player for me, but getting him in the third, you gotta love that. Great value and a very high boomer bust, high potential player that I think can do some big things in this Giants offense. But before we wrap, I'm going to throw one more name out there, Alex, who I want to get your take on really quickly, and that is Eric Gray, Oklahoma running back. I really like him. I think amid this contract stipulation or negotiation with Saquon Barkley, all this controversy surrounding it, it's a great deal that the Giants got a running back in the fifth round who could honestly start games for them in his first year if they need him to. I don't think they'll need him to, but what I will say, Saquon Barkley led all running backs in the NFL last year with snaps. He had the most snaps in the league. He also had the most touches out of any running back in the league. He was tired by the time the Giants got to the divisional round of the postseason. They need a secondary back, and now they have one. Eric Gray, a good player, big home run hitter, not necessarily the most athletic, but he's a gamer. He fights in those trenches, and he picks up some dirty yards. I really like Eric Gray. Alex, what are your thoughts on him? And do you think he's going to see some decent playing time in his rookie season?
I mean, Eric Gray is a really interesting player because he has that 3-down potential. What I like about him is the fact that he's a good insurance policy. If anything were to happen to Saquon, like whether, this whole situation kind of unfolds poorly for both sides, or if, something were to happen if he were to miss time, I have confidence that Eric Gray could step in and be a 3-down back for the Giants. And I think that they're thinking the same thing. Like, if for whatever reason Saquon leaves next year and they don't apply the franchise tag and they don't find an extension together, they only have a couple more days, 7 more days to figure that out. We're sitting here like Eric Gray's the future of our running back position. Like, and that's kind of a good opportunity for him to get some touches, get some reps this upcoming season, get a little bit of experience. And I think that would ultimately be a pretty solid thing for him to kind of just experience in general. So, with his qualities as a run, even as a pass blocker, he has done some pass blocking during his time in Oklahoma, which is solid out of the running back position. He runs pretty well. He's kind of a north to south type of guy, not the most agile, but he runs hard. And he can make those one cuts that really that just leave defenders in his dust. And I like that about him too. Some good, I think he had a couple of really big games with Oklahoma, and ultimately, collegiate production could sometimes flop at the NFL level, but he runs hard, got a good work ethic. And I ultimately think that goes a long way. So hopefully, we'll see him a couple times this year. Hopefully Saquon remains healthy and dominates the entire season, because that would just be good for the Giants in general. But if Eric Gray does get some supplementary touches, maybe in a blowout game or something like that, see what he's got, get him some experience. I think that's generally a good thing, especially for the future. He could end up having a much bigger role.
Yeah, I could see his role increasing somewhere down the road, but for now, I think that with Saquon Barkley still in the lineup, of course, having Eric Gray as that rotational running back to take some pressure off of Saquon's shoulders is super important. So I'm excited to see Eric Gray. I think that he's being slept on and has a lot of great potential to be a starter one day or just to make a great impact on this Giants team this season while giving Saquon Barkley some relief, who, by the way, I think will play on the franchise tag this year. But of course, we'll see within the next week. They got to figure that out. And of course, we're going to be updating you on the Saquon Barkley contract situation right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and Threads at Fireside Giants. Check us out on Facebook as well. And of course, if you enjoyed this one, again, make sure to leave a like, and we will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.